Om Jnana-timirandhasya Jnana-rāñjana-śalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Śrī-Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya-manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Gadadri Swadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Gopatakamanam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sadhguratam Sarvam Jagannathantam Samsajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Deva Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sarvana Malika Shri Vishakhanvitamsya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namosute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishikhanamste Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalapathyasya Vipasindhukevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Studying from Canto 2, the Cosmic Manifestation, Chapter 5, the cause of all causes, Sarva Karan Karma, and verse number 24. Bhāgavatam is a bit technical, second canto is more technical, fifth chapter is more technical, and 24th verse is most technical. So we have to pay full attention here. Please tell your mind, don't go anywhere else, just be here, present here. So we recite the verse. Please repeat after me. Sohamkara iti prokto. Sohamkara iti prokto. Vikurvan samabhutritha. Vikurvan samabhutritha. Vaikārikastejascha. Vaikārikastejasascha. Tamasascheti yadvida. Tamasascheti yadvida. Dravya Shakti Kriya Shakti. Dravya Shakti Kriya Shakti. Jnana Shakti Riti Prabho. Jnana Shakti Riti Prabho. Sohamkara iti prokto. Vikurvan samabhutritha. Vaikārikastejasascha. Tamasascheti yadvida. Dravya Shakti Kriya Shakti. Jnana Shakti Riti Prabho. Sohamkara iti prokto. Vikurvan samabhutritha. Vaikārikastejasascha. Tamasascheti yadvida. Dravya Shakti Kriya Shakti. Jnana Shakti Riti Prabho. Sohamkara iti prokto. Vaikārikastejasascha. Tamasascheti yadvida. Dravya Shakti Kriya Shakti. Jnana Shakti Riti Prabho. Sohamkara iti prokto.
samabhutridha
Vikurvan samabhutridha
Vaikārikastejaschascha
Vaikārikastejaschascha
Tāmasascheti yadhvidha
Tāmasascheti yadhvidha
Dravashakti kriyashakti
Dravashakti kriyashakti
Jnanashakti ritai prabhu
Jnanashakti ritai prabhu Sohakāyati prokto Vikurvan samabhutridha Vaikārikastejaschascha Tāmasastheti yadhvidha Dravashakti kriyashakti Jnanashakti ritai prabhu
Sohakāyati prokto Vikurvan samabhutridha Vaikārikastejaschascha Tāmasastheti yadhvidha
Tāmasastheti yadhvidha
Dravashakti kriyashakti
Dravashakti kriyashakti
Jnanashakti iti prabhu
Jnanashakti ritai prabhu Sohakāyati prokto Vikurvan samabhutridha Vaikārikastejaschascha Tāmasastheti yadhvidha Dravashakti kriyashakti Jnanashakti ritai prabhu. Synonyms, translation and purport by His Divine Grace K.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Please repeat. Saha, the very same thing.
The very same thing.
Ahankara,
Ego,
iti, thus. Prokta, said. Vikurvan, being transformed. Samabhut, become manifested. Became manifested. Tridha, in three features. Vaikārika, in the mode of goodness. Tejasaha, in the mode of passion. Cha, and Tamasaha, in the mode of ignorance. Cha, also. Iti, thus. Yat, what is. Vida, divided. Dravya Shakti, powers that evolve matter. Kriya Shakti, initiation that creates. Jnana Shakti, intelligence that guides. Iti, thus. Prabhu, O Master. Please hear the translation and purport. The self, please hear very carefully because it is technical, and because I don't understand, we will have a discussion today that what is the correct interpretation. The self-centered materialistic ego, thus being transformed into three features, becomes known as the modes of goodness, passion and ignorance in three divisions, namely the powers that evolve matter, knowledge of material creations, and the intelligence that guides such material activities. Narada, you are quite competent to understand this. Are we competent to understand this? Purport. Materialistic ego, or the sense of identification with matter, is grossly self-centered, devoid of clear knowledge of the existence of God. And this self-centered egoism of the materialistic living entities is the cause of their being conditioned by the other paraphernalia and continuing their bondage of material existence. In the Bhagavad Gita, this self-centered egoism is very nicely explained in the 7th chapter, verses 24 through 27. The self-centered impersonalist, without a clear conception of the personality of Godhead, concludes in his own way that the personality of Godhead takes a material shape from his original impersonal spiritual existence, for a particular mission. And this misleading conception of the Supreme Lord by the self-centered impersonalist continues, even though he is seen to be very interested in the Vedic literatures, such as the Brahma Sutras and other highly intellectual sources of knowledge. This ignorance of the personal feature of the Lord is due simply to ignorance of the mixture of different modes. The impersonalist thus cannot conceive of the Lord's eternal spiritual form of eternal knowledge, bliss and existence. The reason is that the Lord reserves the right of not exposing himself to the non-devotee who, even after a thorough study of literature like the Bhagavad Gita, remains an impersonalist simply by obstinacy. This obstinacy is due to the action of Yoga Maya, a personal energy of the Lord that acts like an aide-de-camp by covering the vision of the obstinate impersonalist. Such a bewildered human being is described as mudha, or grossly ignorant, because he is unable to understand the transcendental form of the Lord as being unborn and unchangeable. If the Lord takes a form or material shape from his original impersonal feature, then it means that he is born and changeable from impersonal to personal. But he is not changeable. Nor does he ever take a new birth like a conditioned soul. The conditioned soul may take a form birth after birth due to his conditional existence in matter, but the self-centered impersonalists, by their gross ignorance, accept the Lord as one of them because of self-centered egoism, even after so-called advancement of knowledge in the Vedanta. The Lord, being situated in the heart of every individual living entity, knows very well the tendency of such conditioned souls in terms of past, present and future. But the bewildered conditioned soul hardly can know him in his eternal form. By the will of the Lord, therefore, the impersonalist, even after knowing the Brahman and Paramatma features of the Lord, remains ignorant of his eternal personal feature as ever existent Narayan, transcendental to all material creation. The cause of such gross ignorance is constant engagement by the materialistic man in the matter of artificially increasing material demands. To realize the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one has to purify the materialistic senses by devotional service. The mode of goodness of the Brahmanical culture recommended in the Vedic literatures is helpful to such spiritual realization, and thus the Jnana Shakti stage of the conditioned soul is comparatively better than the other two stages, namely Dravya Shakti and Kriya Shakti. The whole material civilization is manifested by a huge accumulation of materials, or in other words, raw materials for industrial purposes, and the industrial enterprises, Kriya Shakti, are all due to gross ignorance of spiritual life. Just imagine this. The whole material civilization is manifested by a huge accumulation of materials, or in other words, raw materials for industrial purposes, and the industrial enterprises, Kriya Shakti, are all due to gross ignorance of spiritual life. In order to rectify this great anomaly of materialistic civilization, based on the principles of Dravya Shakti and Kriya Shakti, one has to adopt the process of devotional service of the Lord by adoption of the principles of Karma Yoga mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita 9:27 as follows: Yat karoshi yadashnasi yat johosi darasiyat yat tapasyasi kaunteya tat kurushva mat arpanam. O son of Kunti, all that you do, all that you eat, all that you offer and give away, as well as austerities that you may perform, should be done as an offering unto me. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Bhaktivedanta purpose ki jai. So, we can see here this. First of all, I want to seek blessings from all the devotees who are present here and who are hearing online, so that I can speak something that is for my purification and that will please all the devotees, especially Srila Prabhupada. We can see here that in the second canto, it's full of all the technical details not many leelas are there. It's more about creation. One of Prabhupada's disciples, Samapriya Mataji, she mentions in one of her reflections, especially she's talking about when we are chanting our holy names. She says that a devotee must have 4 things. So please hear very carefully. Says we must have commitment, we must have a sense of duty, we must have determination, and then ultimately we must have taste. So commitment, duty, determination, and taste. And she says the sum total of all this is enthusiasm. The sum total of all this is enthusiasm. So when we approach a subject like this, generally our enthusiasm is dampened. Yeah, okay, just skip this, and then we go to the next leader. But 2 things we require here is enthusiasm and excitement, like Neer and Nadia. They're here, getting up early in the morning, and the excitement is there. Okay, even if it's technical, let me just hear it. Yes, this enthusiasm, excitement has to be there. So let's see. Let's understand how this creation, the description of creation, is going to, be very practical for us. Yes. So let's go to the first verse of this chapter. What does the first verse say? Narduvacha deva deva namastestu bhuta bhavana purvaja tad vijanti yajnanam. What is the last line? Can someone tell me? Atma tattva nidarshanam. Now nidarshanam, Prabhupada translates as specifically directs. And Atma tattva, Prabhupada translates as transcendental. So is Narad Muni interested in knowing all the technical or mechanical details of the creation? Or is he thinking, by knowing this, I will know the Atma Tattva? What do you think?
By knowing this.
I see your excitement is lost even now. I'm just spoken for 2 minutes, man.
Atma Tattva.
Atma Tattva, yes. So Atma Tattva means we want to understand the whole process of creation in a transcendental form, in a transcendental manner, in a divine manner, not in a mechanical manner, not in a technical manner. Of course, the mechanism will be explained here, right? So first thing is that we can understand that Narad Muni is asking a question for divinity, for transcendence, for Atma Tattva, yes? So he specifically says, Prabhupada says, please tell me the transcendental knowledge which specifically directs one to the truth of the individual soul and the super soul. So he is interested in creation, of course, the mechanism, but more he is interested in the truth of the Atma, individual soul, and the spiritual soul. Yes? So yes, then 1 to 14 is asking questions. The second verse is asking 6 questions. And what are these 6 questions? Can someone tell me the 6 questions, please? In the second verse. What is the first question?
What is the background of the manifested world?
What is the
Background
of the manifested world? So that question is answered in the 14th verse. Yeah? So 14th verse, what does 14th verse say? Everyone has to contribute, please. We'll go slow today. Is it okay? The answer is in the 14th verse. What does the 14th verse say? Someone who has not spoken. Sudharani Mataji, what does the 14th verse say? Someone read just the translation. Read the translation.
The 5 elementary ingredients of creation, the interaction thereof set up by eternal time, and the intuition or nature of the individual living beings are all differentiated parts and parcel of the personality of Godhead, Vasudeva, and in truth there is no other value in them. Yes,
so the background again is, he's saying, okay, these things are there, but Ultimately, without Vasudeva, there is no truth. So when we study a chapter like this, we can understand, okay, Brahma is going to explain the process of creation, but at every step, we can see that Krishna is involved. Krishna is in the background or in the forefront wherever it exists. What is the second question?
How is it created?
How is it created? Right? And here, in the 15th and 16th verses again, the connection with the Narayana is there, right? What are the 15th and 16th verses? Can someone read the translation?
The Vedic literatures are made by and are meant for the Supreme Lord. The demigods are also meant for serving the Lord as parts of his body. The different planets are also meant for the sake of the Lord, and different sacrifices are performed just for the reason.
Yes. Narayana para Veda, Deva Narayana Raja, Narayana para Loka, Narayana para Makha. And then the next verse.
All different types of meditation and all mysticism are meant for realizing Narayana.
Narayana para Yoga, Narayana para Tapaha, Narayana para Jnana, Narayana para Gati. So yes, everything is again connected with Narayana. Yes? And then what is the third question?
How is it conserved?
How is it conserved? That answers verse number 21. Verse 20 to 21, what does verse 21 take us to?
The Lord, who is the controller of all energies, thus creates by his own potency, eternal time, the fate of all living entities and their particular nature for which they are created, and he again merges them independently.
Yes, so Kala, Karma and Swabhava. So these three things are again given by the Lord, Kala, Karma and Swabhava. We see that there are 5 topics which are discussed. And what does it? Atman Yadrichaya Praptam. Yadrichaya means independently, right? So Krishna, he brings this Kala, Karma and Swabhava. Kala is the what we call catalyst, right? We understand Kala is, can I give a simple example? Here Kala is created. Once the glance is done, the Pradhan is now becoming Mahatattva, and then the time comes into play. Before that, the time has not come into play. So the time comes into play, Kala. Let's study an example. You want to make a bread in bread maker, right? Then what do you do? Okay, and then?
Set the timer.
Okay. So does it happen immediately? No, it takes time, right? So we can understand that all these ingredients which were quoted before, the senses, the tanamatras, the objects, everything, so they are the ingredients. And then once the time passes, then they are agitated. In the bread maker, the what is it called? The kneading happens, and then the baking happens, and the bread is formed. So this way again, in the creation, the elements are created, the time is created, and then the activities happen in the passage of time, and then the creation happens like that. But everywhere we'll see who's involved here. Krishna is involved. Every verses we can see, like that. That we saw that in the first verse, the Atma Tattva is described. The questions are asked relating to Krishna. The answer is given by Brahma. Everywhere is Narayana, like that. Now, so 15 and 16 we saw, and 21 we saw. Between 17 and 20, 17, 18, 19 and 20, what is described is description of the difference between the Lord and the living entity. Verses 17 to 20 describe the difference between the Lord and the living entity. Yes? And in the 19th verse, I want you to study the 19th verse and tell me one word which is defining the living entities. One word. In the 19th verse. Sanskrit. that describes the living entity?
Oh, Purusha.
Okay, so you're there, almost there.
Purusha.
Purusham Guna.
Okay. Please repeat after me. Karya karana kritatve dravya jnana kriya ashraya vadnanti nityada muktam mainam purusham guna. So which verse describes living entities? Vadnanti. So when we said the distinction between the Lord and the living entity is nityada, right? Vadnanti nityada is ever conditioned, right? Eternally conditioned, and it becomes mukta, right? So these verses describe the distinction between the Lord and the living entity. That the Lord is independent, the living entity is conditioned, baddha, right? So we can see that the focus of Brahmaji's description of the creation is on two things. The focus is on two things. One is how Sarva Karana Karanam, as the chapter says, how the Supreme Lord is the cause of the creation. Right? He is the cause of the creation, and how Dravya, Jnana and Kriya, which we just saw also. Dravya, Jnana, we have been seeing in the previous verses. Dravya, Jnana and Kriya is binding the living entity. So the Lord is the cause of the creation, and the Dravya, Jnana and Kriya. Now we also heard that Dravya relates to which mode? Okay, but in which mode? So if you have Dravya, Jnana and Kriya, right? Three. And the three, match the columns, right? You used to have this, match the columns. So Dravya, Jnana and Kriya and goodness, passion, ignorance. Which one you match with Dravya? What does Dravya mean? Dravya actually in common parlance means? What does Dravya in common parlance mean? Dravya, what is Dravya? You should know Gujarati, right? Okay, here we know matter, but what in common parlance, what is Dravya? Well, Dravya means money, right? Dravya is wealth. You know that? Have you heard that? No? You heard that? Okay, no? Maybe. Sorry. I thought everyone would have heard that. Yes, Neil?
It's in the mode of passion.
Dravya is matter, so mode of ignorance. Kriya is in the mode of passion. The action is there. And Jnana is in the mode of goodness, right? So these three Srishtis and these three tattvas are described here. The Dravya, Jnana and Kriya, right? So how these three, even though mode of goodness is there, it's still binding us. Yes? So now we come to a stage where, Naradji is inquiring from Brahma and he's saying, okay, Atma Tattva, I want to hear about the creation, but in the way of transcendent knowledge. And he is asking 6 questions showing his inquisitiveness. Yes, inquisitiveness. And if you understand, as human being, what should we be inquiring about? What is the first aphorism in Bhāgavatam?
So, who we are.
What is that called? That's a Sanskrit. Athato Brahma Jigyasa. Athato Brahma Jigyasa means I want to find out about Brahma, about the Lord. Yes? In the Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna speaks about 4 types of people who come to him. And what are the 4 types of people?
One is distressed. One is distressed looking for higher knowledge.
Does anyone know Sanskrit? Even English is okay?
Chaturvida vedante mam jnana sukrito arjuna
Arto, Jigyasu, Arthati, Jnani cha, Bhakta Sava. Yes? So Arto means one who is distressed. The second one is Jigyasu. Jigyasu means inquisitive. If we don't have excitement, if we don't have enthusiasm, we won't be inquisitive. People who don't ask questions. It is said that a good teacher will make the student ask questions. A good teacher will make the student ask questions. So we have to have the inquisitiveness, athato brahma jigyasa. And I want to find out. Prabhupada used to give an example that when a child sees the stars and the moons and the clouds and all that, he's asking, what is that? Why is that there and not here? Where does that come from? I don't know, many years ago there was a Telstra ad. Does anyone remember a Telstra ad? Where a kid is asking a question to his grandfather. Basically it's all about criticism was going on. So, why does this happen? Why doesn't he stop? All the questions. And the grandfather says, why are you asking so many questions? He says, I'm a kid, that's my job. So this way, we all have the excitement, we should all have the enthusiasm and excitement of children to ask these questions, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. So far in the previous lives, just imagine, any person, what would the previous life be? What would my previous life be? Who would I be? Just give me some example. In my previous life, what would I have been? A cockroach? An ant? An elephant? Okay, yes, so animal or plant, whatever it is, right? What would an animal always think of? Ahar, nidra, bhai, maithun. Right? Eating, sleeping, mating, defending. So only when we come to the human life, this inquisitiveness has to be there and directed towards Atma Tattva, Atato Brahma Jigyasa. This is what Narad Muni is inspiring us to do, and this is what Brahmaji is telling. Okay, even if I'm explaining about the creation, we have to connect it with the Lord. So this is what it is. That these verses describe that the Lord is the cause of all creation and the material entity is bound. Bound by Jnana, Dravya and Kriya. Can you repeat after me? Jnana, Dravya and Kriya. In the second chapter of first canto, Sutta Goswami is is mentioning this very wonderful verse. So please go on 1 to 10. So 1 to 10. Yeah, 1 to 10. Are you there? Yes. Kamasya nendriya pritir. Kamasya nendriya pritir. Labho jiveta yavata. Labho jiveta yavata. Jivasya tattva jigyasa. Jivasya tattva jigyasa. Natho yasceha karmabhihi. Natho yasceha karmabhihi. Life's desires should never be directed towards sense gratification. He opens very powerfully. Life's desires should never be directed towards sense gratification. One should desire only a healthy life or self-preservation, since a human being is meant for inquiry about the absolute truth. Nothing else should be the goal of one's works. How beautiful it is, but it should make us think, what am I doing? So yes, then when we go to the verse, which is the phrase in the purport Prabhupada is using again and again and again? In the verse we are discussing, 2.5.24. 2.5.24, which is the phrase which Prabhupada is using again and again and again. These are 2 words, sometimes there are 3 words also. In the verse which we are studying.
3 modes of material.
Self-centered. How many times is used the word self-centered? Self-centered egoism, self-centered impersonalist, self-centered individual, whatever it is. So Prabhupada is speaking about the conditioned living entity. Yes? So we can see that when we are discussing Bhagavatam like this, Narad Muni is asking the first question about Atma Tattva. The second verse he speaks about Yad Rupam Yad Adhishtanam Yad Srishtam Idam Prabho Yad Samstam Yad Param Yadcha Tat Tattudam Vada Tattvatah. When he's speaking, okay, yes, I want to understand the symptom of manifestation. Yes, what is the background, how it is created, how it is maintained. So again, everywhere we can see Krishna is involved. Because we see the 10 topics of the Bhāgavatam, and everywhere Krishna is involved. And then again it continues with how it is bound, how the living entity is bound. So again we go back to the 14th verse where the answer to the second question is given. Right? And 14, 15 and 16 we see that how everything is connected to Krishna. In the 14th verse, Brahmaji says, the 5 elementary ingredients of creation. So of course it's describing the technical details of creation. Yes? There is saying, Pradhan is there, like we can compare it with, as I said, the black hole. The black hole is there in the universe, the scientists describe as black hole, right? So we can understand that black hole is Pradhan. Pradhan means, we can say dense, all the matter, everything is in that Pradhana. And then Lord glances over the Pradhana. Mahatattva happens, and then from Mahatattva, when all the entities are there, the universe are created, in the pose of Vishnu, time is created, and then with the glance of the Lord, the jivas get agitated and the activities begin. So very simply like that. But then here in this chapter, detailed description is given. Right? But again, our point is that while we understand the mechanics of the creation, we should also understand that everything is relating to the Lord. So the 14th, 15th, and 16th verses, the 5 elementary ingredients of creation, the interaction thereof set up by eternal time. Yes, the 5 ingredients are there. The time is, activating everything. And the intuition or nature of individual living beings. The living beings are controlled by the 3 modes. Are all differentiated parts and parcels of the personality of God and Vasudeva, and in truth there is no other value in them. So if we disconnect all these things from Vasudeva, what is the value?
No value.
There's no value. There's no value. So everything is to be connected with Vasudeva. Yes? Now we understand. Okay, so this is that, and then the 15th and 16th verses, he says that everything is Narayana. The Vedic literatures are made by and are meant for Supreme Lord. The demigods are also meant for serving the Lord as parts of His body. The planets are meant for the sake of the Lord and sacrifices performed just to please Him. Meditation, mysticism, austerities, culture of transcendental knowledge, and ultimately salvation is to enter the kingdom of God. This is how Brahmaji is describing. So we can see that Kamadaksha Vishnu is there, and from his breathing out, unlimited universes come out of the pores of his skin. You've seen the picture in the first canto, right?
Yes.
First canto of Srīmad Bhāgavatam, Vishnu is there, and when he breathes out, universes are coming out. And then he glances on Pradhana, Kala and Karma happen, Kala, Karma and Subhava, these are the constituents of the glance. So Mahavishnu, he impregnates Pradhana with Kala, Karma and Subhava. Kala, of course, is the time, and the Karma and Subhava are coming from the individual living entity. We have the Karma, we have our Subhava, our own nature. So we spoke about how, when we cook, we need all the ingredients, so all the ingredients are there, and as the time passes, the cooking happens, and the creation is happening. Now, in this verse, coming back to 24th verse. Sorry, just looking for 24th verse here. Okay. So ahankar iti prokto. So now ahankar is there. What is ahankar? false ego, yes? Of course, ahankar. Ahamkar means I am the doer. Ahamkar means I am the doer. That means the ego is there. And then it's mentioned here, the self-centered materialistic ego, thus being transformed into three features, become known as the modes of goodness, passion, ignorance in three divisions. Now, I was discussing with Jamdagni Prabhu, I wanted to find out. If you read the verse carefully, the self-centered materialistic ego thus being transformed into three features, becomes known as the modes of goodness, passion and ignorance in three divisions. Now the trick comes. Now normally when you read after that, you will think that's respectively means it's in the same order. The first one is, what is the first one? Namely the powers that evolve matter. The second one? And the intelligence that guides such materialistic activities. Now which one do you think relates to goodness?
Intelligence. Knowledge.
What about knowledge?
Knowledge.
So this is the trick thing, which I said, we have to discuss it very carefully. Normally, jnana is, related to the mode of goodness, right? But here, because ahankar itself is mode of ignorance. Please understand. Ahankar itself is, I am the doer, that's false ego, that's mode of ignorance. So in that again, the three modes are there. So first of all, you have to understand that everything is mode of ignorance, these three also. So powers that evolve matter. Now matter itself is, as we saw, is ignorance. Yes? Matter is ignorance. So this is goodness in mode of ignorance. The knowledge of material creation, intelligence that guides such materialistic activities. So activities would be passion, knowledge of material creation would be goodness, and powers that evolve matter would be ignorance. But I'm not very sure. So, we need to find that out. Whether this is in the order or not. Does it make sense or no? Anyone doesn't understand? You don't understand?
I do understand.
Okay.
But the reason it's much more clearer now. The intelligence that guides such material activities is the key to the passion. Because the passion of continuing with the material, the ignorance, that's the creation, connecting to the material nature. And
But then there also, any activity is passion normally. See, knowledge is goodness, activity is passion, and matter is ignorance. We see dravya, jnana, and kriya. So dravya is matter, which is ignorance. Jnana is knowledge, is goodness, and kriya is passion, which is activity, right? So the powers that evolve matter, I would say passion, ignorance. Knowledge of material creation is goodness, and then intelligence that guides material activities, because it's activity, it's passion. This is subject to debate.
But intelligence, but if you have the right intelligence, then if you are offering everything Krishna, even if you're doing material activities, then it's goodness.
Yes.
So,
but here it's specifically describing about the ahankar, which is again in the mode of ignorance. So ahankar is the mode of ignorance. And then we're talking about, in ahankar, the goodness, passion, ignorance, right? Then Prabhupada, as we said, in this purport, he speaks about self-centered. How many times he uses the phrase self-centered? Materialistic ego, the sense of identification matter is closely self-centered. Self-centered egoism, self-centered impersonalism. So many times he's using self-centered. So self-centered again, Brahmaji, Narada and Prabhupada are speaking about the conditioned living entity, right? About the conditioned living entity. Now, when we understand that when we try to present this to an outside world, right, we have to be very convinced because, okay, yes, we've got all the details here, but and every time we are saying that everything is connected to Krishna, and if it's not connected to Krishna, there is no value. Yes? But Bible also says, and God said, let there be light. Yeah? There was light. Let there be air, there was air. Let there be life, there is life. So what's the difference? Between Bhāgavatam and any other description. Because everyone is saying, okay, if you remove the touch of the Lord, Everything is same. In Bible also they say yes. God said let there be light. So yes, everything is there. Now, when we understand that here Prabhupada is speaking about self-centered. That means, we speak of the general mass of people, human beings, and when we present this, we can understand that yes, most of the living entities, most of the human beings, God has created man. And if you are not God conscious, you can say man has created robots. We can give the example. God created man which can dance. Man has created robots which can dance. God created man who can think. Man has created robots who can think too. Yes, everything is there. Almost all the human emotions are there in the robots now.
Except for the consciousness.
Except for the consciousness, yes. Of course, you spoke about that. So then we understand that as devotees, our focus, should be on the connection with Krishna all the time. That even though the material advancement is there, civilization is happening, but instead of us being self-centered, we have to be Krishna-centered. Because otherwise everything will be lost. As Bhāgavatam says, no value. It's got no value. So in the material world, what happens? Let's understand that. In the devotee world, there's something else happening. In the material world, something else is happening. In the material world, when a student goes to the school and they do an experiment, right, under the teacher, they do an experiment under the teacher, and the ultimate aim is that I want to do that experiment, I want to create this, and I want to be successful. And human beings in the material world are doing the same thing. I want to move God on the side. I want to be the creator. I want to create. And I want to be God. Yes? Well, as far as we are concerned, we understand that everything, whatever happens, there is a touch of the Lord. Yes? Now, as Prabhupada says here, that Krishna, he has the will to reveal himself to the person. And Prabhupada says again, self-centered. Where does it say here? The impersonalist cannot thus cannot conceive of the Lord's eternal spiritual form of eternal knowledge, bliss and existence. The reason is that the Lord reserves the right of not exposing himself to the non-devotee who, even after a thorough study of literature like the Bhagavad Gita, remains an impersonalist simply by obstinacy. Right? So, whatever study they make, we've seen so many impersonalists, we speak to them, and because of their obstinacy, just they don't want to surrender to the Lord doesn't reveal himself. Yeah? What Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati used to say, that when you come in front of the Lord, if we don't have bhakti, right? So when we come in front of Radha Giri Govardhan, when we have bhakti, Radha Giri Govardhan, they are giving their darshan to us. Right? But if we don't have bhakti, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati used to say, that is what we call eye massage. Massage for the eyes. Yes, the eyes feel good, but there is no love developing there. We used to call it eye massage. So when we understand that the difference between our understanding of the creation and the material understanding of the creation is that we understand that Lord is in every aspect of creation. So in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Naham Prakasa Sarvasya, right? That I do not reveal myself to a person who is not interested in me, who is not devotee. The same way, Prabhupada also speaks in his purport that this obstinacy is due to the action of Yoga Maya, a personal energy of the Lord that acts like an aide-de-camp by covering the vision of the obstinate impersonalist. So when we come with the love of God, when we have this, as it says, Jnananjana Shalakaya, we have the Shalaka, the ointment of love. What does Brahma Samhita say? Premanjana Filta Bhakti Vilochanena Santa Sadeva Ridhyeshu Vilokayanti. Yes? That in the eyes of the devotee, the Prem Anjana is always there. And with a salve of love, when we understand this technical process of creation, it is very easy. If we are simple devotee, it's very easy for us, okay? Pradhan is there, the Lord is glancing, the glance is Rudra, the Lord doesn't have to touch material creation, the agitation happens, the car happens, and the creation happens. But then when we understand that even when we hear in detail the description of Bhāgavatam, the Dravya Srishti, the Vyama Srishti, the Kriya Srishti, all these things are happening, but everywhere the Lord is being glorified here. I'll end with a very wonderful verse, which is coming from the 12th canto, which will explain to us that how in our life we can actually connect everything with the Lord. So 12th canto, 12th chapter, verse number 66. Can you go to 12th canto? 12th chapter, verse number 66. 12:66. Are we there? Kalimala samhati kalano khilesho Harer pitaratra nagiyate abhikshanam Ihatu punar bhagwan sheshamurti Pari patito padam katha prasanga Pari patito padam katha prasanga. The translation is very beautiful. It says, Lord Hari, the supreme controller of all beings, annihilates the accumulated sins of the Kali age. Yet other literatures do not constantly glorify him. But that supreme personality of Godhead, appearing in his innumerable personal expansions, is abundantly and constantly described throughout the various narrations of this Srīmad Bhāgavatam. Yes, so the Lord is glorified and narrated in every page, in every verse, in every word of Srīmad Bhāgavatam. Lord Hari, the supreme controller of all beings, annihilates the accumulated sins of the Kali age. Yet other literatures do not constantly glorify him. But that supreme personality of Godhead, appearing in his innumerable personal expansions, is abundantly and constantly described throughout the various narrations of Srīmad Bhāgavatam. So we can have a simple understanding that yes, because of the glance of the Lord, everything happens. And we have heard the story of the cobbler and the Brahman, right? Brahman was a scholar, but did he get the Lord? No. But the cobbler was a simple person. So we can just become a simple devotee and understand that yes, whatever is described is relating to my dear Lord Krishna. And then again in the 10th canto there is a beautiful verse, 14th chapter, verse number 3. 10, 14, 3. Does someone want to recite that verse? It's a beautiful verse. And we'll end with this verse.
Is that wrong, Peter? That's wrong.
Yes, let's try that. Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva.
Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva.
Jnane prayasam udapasya namanta eva. Jivanti sammukaritam bhavatiyavanam.
Sthane sthita shruti gata tanuvan manobhi.
Sthane sthita shruti Ye prayaso jit jitopyasi taistrilokyam. Those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, so we are all established in our own social positions. So those who, even while remaining situated in their established social positions, throw away the process of speculative knowledge and with their body, words and mind, offer all respects to descriptions of your personality and activities, dedicating their lives to these narrations which are vibrated by you personally and by your pure devotees. Certainly conquer your lordship, although you are otherwise unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. Such a beautiful verse. Just imagine, so if we, whatever situation we are in, we throw away the process of speculative knowledge, and with our body, minds and words we describe these glories of Krishna, then Krishna will be conquered by us, even though he is unconquerable by anyone within the three worlds. Right? It says, Ye prayaso jita jitopyasya taistrilokyam. And Prabhupada very beautiful in the first two paragraphs, he says, here the word to the pasture clearly indicates that one should not even slightly endeavor to understand the absolute truth by the process of mental speculation, for it invariably carries one to an imperfect, impersonal understanding of the Lord. The word Jivanti indicates that a devotee who always hears about Lord Krishna will go back home, back to Godhead, even if he can do nothing except maintain his existence and hear topics concerning the Lord. Just imagine how powerful Krishna Katha is, how powerful Hari Katha is. That even if he cannot do anything, nothing except maintain his existence and hear topics concerning the Lord. So Sanatana Goswami has explained the words Tanuvan Manobhi by the body, words and mind in three ways. In reference to the devotees, through the body, words and mind, they are able to conquer Lord Krishna, thus becoming perfect in Krishna consciousness. They can touch his lotus feet with their hands, call him to come with their words, and attain his direct audience within their mind simply by thinking about him. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Grantaraj Srimad Bhāgavatam ki jai. So let us understand that we should try and find Krishna, look for Krishna in every word of Srimad Bhāgavatam, in every line of Srimad Bhāgavatam, in every verse of Srimad Bhāgavatam, in every page of Srimad Bhāgavatam. Let us try and find Krishna in every person we meet. Let us try and find Krishna in every situation we go through. And let us find Krishna in every aspect of matter which we have in our surroundings. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I was just thinking, about that thing that we were discussing about the translation, what goes where, with the word of goodness, passion and ignorance. I was just thinking, it says, so there are three things: powers that evolve matter, knowledge of material creation, and intelligence that guides such materialistic activities. I was thinking the knowledge of material creations should be in the mode of goodness, because when there is knowledge of the material creation, which means you're more aware, there is more clarity of what's happening, so there is more awareness.
Yes.
Right? And then it says intelligence that guides such material activities, that will be in the mode of passion.
Passion, yes.
Because that intelligence is going to create actions.
Action, yes.
And then the third one, matter, the powers that evolve matter, obviously matter is completely in the mode of
Yes. And Prabhupada gives here the very powerful statement of the industrial enterprise. Where does it go? Yes. That the whole material civilization is manifested by a huge accumulation of materials, or in other words, raw materials for industrial purposes, and the industrial enterprises, Kriya Shakti, are all due to gross ignorance of spiritual life. Ugra Karma, they call it. Big factories.
I think a good example is now in Vrindavan, what's happening.
Yes.
People are building more and more buildings and the loss and the natural environment, how Vrindavan should have been, is lost
Yes.
very quickly.
If you don't go to Vrindavan next 3 to 5 years, you will be visiting Hong Kong. So, okay. Any other questions or comments? Rahul?
One thing, so Lord doesn't reveal himself to a non-devotee, right? how do we develop that bhakti or love, right? I mean, we do a lot of services and so on, but you know,
You mean in our hearts or someone else's hearts?
Our hearts. Yeah.
Our hearts. It's a gradual process, we have come and then we serve and then we serve more, we are social devotees. Slowly, when we are sincere, Krishna reveals himself. He gives us that indication. This is what we have to do. And everyone has experience of that. When we start progressing in spiritual life, all of us sitting here, we have our own experiences. And that's why we have progressed and come so far. Otherwise, it's not possible. If you don't have that little glimpse, taste of that nectar, we won't be, here so far. It actually, takes effort to leave everything and come here and here. We could be doing millions of other things, but this taste is there. So, yes, that is there. And of course, then, if there's anything else sort of affecting us or disturbing us, we can discuss that with the devotees. This is what is stopping me, and then devotees give advice accordingly and help accordingly, of course. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Prabhu, you mentioned about Bible. You put a Bible that in Bible they said that through light came this, through light came that, and then you said even Bhāgavatam is saying that. So what is the difference? I mean, to the general people, what is the difference? Even if Bible is saying that and we are saying that, and you quoted that in this particular verse, I was just trying to understand the relevance.
Yeah, so, no one gives you as much detail as Bhagavatam gives. You see the third canto, the prayers of the unborn child. Where else will you get that? I heard many years ago, I don't know whether it's authorized or not, but I heard many years ago that the machines which the gynecology department of various inventions are there, some of them are based on the third canto, the chapter of praise of the unborn child. So Bhagavatam gives you the whole matter of creation. In the fifth canto, I think the whole shape of creation is given. Everything is given. So Bhagavatam gives a lot more description. But then again, as we see that as devotees, we see the Lord in every word, in every page. That helps us, right? Whereas if you are not a devotee, and then if you just see as a mechanical process, then as Krishna says, there's no value in that. So that's why the devotee will, once you become a devotee, of course we've been there so we can understand what a non-devotee is going through, but a non-devotee will never understand, the position of a devotee, because, they've never experienced that. So it is our job to make them understand and, help them in the progress. Does it make sense?
Yeah, Prabhu, but just out of curiosity, so when Bible is saying something like that, is that completely incorrect?
No. Same thing. But Bible is just giving the top detail. It doesn't go into detail. And Bhagavatam goes into detail.
Yeah.
Right? So, and when you get the detail, and when all the pieces of jigsaw puzzle are in place, then you get a clear picture. Yes.
Harekrishna, answering your question, I think it just came to me in text 20. It's in Bhagavatam, it says here, who the Lord has declared very clearly that the impersonalist who gives more importance to the transcendental rise of the Lord is Brahma Jyoti. So this is a sort of explaining that in the Bible it says the light. You see the light, but they don't describe anything about the light. Whereas in Srīmad Bhāgavatam, also Bhagavad Gita, that it's very clear as to what the light, the effulgence of Krishna's potencies, that is a Brahma Jyoti, and it's quite clearly described here as well. So that's what you're saying about the depth that we go into, what the light is all about, and it's not Krishna's.
Yes. So the depth is given, and as I said, various pieces of jigsaw puzzle are fitting, and many people who we know have come from other faith because Bhagavatam has given them all the answers like that. Yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Srīmad Bhāgavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Sorry, just one more thing. You mentioned about the every devotee commitment, duty, taste, and there was one more.
Determination.
Thank you.
Because when we don't see the results very quickly, determination is required. As Rupa Goswami says, Utsaha Dhyaya Nishchaya. Utsaha, that means enthusiasm has to be there. Right? Dhyaya means patience has to be there because the result won't come immediately. Most people don't fail to understand that for millions of lifetimes I have not done anything. And they won't result in 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years. It might be possible, but it might take longer also. So that patience has to be there. And the third one is Utsaha, Dhyaya, Nishchaya. Nishchaya means the determination. Determination is required because if you don't get the result, are you still going to continue? If I do business and 1 month I lose money, 2nd month I lose money, 3rd month I lose money, have I got the determination to continue?
I think about always about the wrestler, or anything in life you have to achieve. You have to be, determined. You go to the gym, whatever it is. You don't eat certain things. You sacrifice that. So anything
Yes.
takes time.
Any athlete, anyone who's successful in life, determination has to be there. It is required. The same thing applies in spiritual life. Determination has to be there. And again, the end result is that determination comes from devotee association. Because if you're on your own, you'll be broken. But if you're together, then it's still fine. Okay, Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.